Hi everyone, so this is just a quick review or preview of how to create your own JSON document, which is the assignment for this week. What you're going to be doing is creating a JSON document that describes items or things in your life or things about your life. And the purpose of this is to get us familiar with the structure of JSON documents and also understand how they can be made as descriptive and meaningful as possible. Okay, so I am going to do a demo here with some books, but you should choose something other than books when you are creating your own JSON document. So I've increased the font here. I'm actually working on a PC, so you'll see I'm using Notepad instead of TextEdit. Just remember when you're using TextEdit that you want to make sure to convert TextEdit to make plain text. And you'll also want to go into the preferences and make sure that you uncheck the box that says use smart quotes and use smart dashes. You won't really use the dashes, but you might as well get rid of them. Keep in mind that you'll probably need to close whatever document you're working on to start a new document to make sure that that change takes effect. But you want to be careful that the quotation marks that show up for you are not curly and not angled, right? They should be like just straight. So starting out my JSON document, it's always going to start the same way. It's going to start with a curly brace. And as we mentioned in class, everything in a JSON document is always going to be wrapped in quotes, unless it's an object or a list, right? So basically anytime I have kind of a standalone value, it's going to be in quotes, whether it's a number or a word or several words, it's always going to be wrapped in quotes. And so in this case, my main key, right? Remember the thing that appears on the left is the key. My main key is going to be books, right? Because that's what this document is about. It is about books. And then within that, right, I'm creating another object, okay? So within the book object, I'm creating another object, and I'm going to have a couple of kind of what I'm thinking of sort of top level parameters here. So the first one is going to be, I'm going to say who owns these books, right? So that's my uni right there. Now, the question of sort of how to format this, generally speaking, we want to do an indent for every level down that we go, right? So every time I have an object or a list that appears as part that's inside another one, if you remember the circles that we drew in class, I want to do an indent. And that's to give a visual hierarchy to my document, right? The computer is going to understand it either way. This is for the humans, right, for us, so we can better understand what's going on here. So you'll notice that I have one key, which is owner, and then the value is my uni in this case. I'm actually going to even do this because I like the way the formatting comes out better. And then I'm also going to say, okay, the category of books that I'm going to put in this is poetry books. Okay, so again, that's another key value pair. And then I'm going to have a third key value pair, and that's going to be volumes. Okay, so as in the volumes of poetry. Now, volumes is going to be a list, right? And so again, always the indicator of a list is square brackets. Now, one trick for this, which I probably should have started out doing, is remember that I need to match all of my curly braces. When I'm starting a list, I go ahead and do the open and closing brackets right away, right? And then I just add some space between them. And what's handy about that is kind of doing that automatic matching, right? Putting in both braces when you start to create something is that you don't have to worry as much about making sure that you close them all at the end, right? Because it's already there somewhere. Right? You just have to make sure that the syntax before that is correct. So again, I've now created a list. I'm making a list of objects. And so within that list of objects, I'm going to have books. And so each book has lots of potential attributes, right? I'm going to only catalog a few of them here. So I'm going to say the title is "And Still I Rise." Okay. Another feature so again, I can kind of do this. Now, this isn't necessarily exactly how a program like JSON Lint is going to format it for us. That's okay. What you want to do, I mean, we're going to put it into that, and that's going to correctly format it for us. But even now, I like this because it makes it clear kind of where things line up. In fact, I might even actually put this. Having it on a full tab is a little much. In fact, I think this is sort of how they prefer to do it, right? Right, so I can, again, I'm still giving it kind of a visual hierarchy here that makes it easy to see sort of what is a subset of what, okay? So I'm working within this object, right? And again, I could create the closing tag for that object right away, so I kind of have it handy. But I'm going to say the title, the author is Maya Angelou. Okay, and I'm going to do the publication year. Now, I want to point out something that I'm doing here with the publication year. So first of all, notice that 1978, although it's a number, still goes in the double quotes. Secondly, publication year. I've put an underscore between publication and year, okay? And the reason for this is that for any key, we generally don't want special characters in our keys, right? Anything that appears on the left, we don't want special characters in that, okay? Spaces are considered special characters. Any kind of punctuation, I obviously wouldn't want a comma or a period or a slash or anything like that, really. I just want to stick with numbers, letters, and basically underscores. Even dashes aren't a good idea. In fact, I think dash is actually pretty good. So I want to stick with these characters. Now, the reason why I put publication year in there is just because it's a way for me. What I'm trying to do is be descriptive, right? I would ideally like someone to be able to look at this document and without additional information, know what the data is that it contains, right? Be able to interpret this information without any additional metadata, right? Without any additional information about the file. And so to that end, I want my keys to be as descriptive as possible, right? But, you know, as they start to get long, especially if they have multiple words, it can get kind of hard to read them, right? So the easiest way to deal with that is just to put an underscore. You can also use something called camel case, which is where the first word in a multi-word key is, or two-word key is, it can actually be as many words as you want, but the first word has a lowercase, and then every subsequent word has an uppercase beginning it, and that actually makes it much more readable. So it's really up to you which you prefer, but that's the thing you want to watch out for. No special characters in your keys. So now if I wanted to do this, I want to have an additional item here, right? One thing that I can do is I can actually just copy my first one, right? And then go ahead and change the values, right? And the reason why I might do this is that, you know, once I've worked this out, right, there's no point in my typing out all of the individual keys again. Because this is a list, I want the all of the keys within each object ought to be the same, right? Because they're the same type of object, right? They're the same sort of category of thing, right? They're poetry books. So I want to make sure that the keys are all the same, because that's what will let me eventually kind of loop through this list and look through each item and go, okay, what are the titles of all of the books in this list? What are the authors of all of the books in this list? So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this again. Actually, that's not Maya Angelou, but we'll just leave that for the moment. Oops, lost one there. Okay. So now I can see pretty clearly that I've got open. Okay, so this one's opened and closed. It's got a comma. This one is open and closed, no comma, again, because it's the last item. Okay, so this is in good shape. Now I've got one up here, and I'm going to just go ahead and put that in. And we got one up here, and I think that I am in pretty good shape here. So let's go ahead. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to put this in into this tool called JSON lint. Okay, and so what this does is this is gonna clean up any formatting issues that we have, and it's also going to tell me if it's valid JSON, right? So I just click that, and luckily it is valid, right? Someone asked in class, what happens if I forget a comma, right? Is it just going to put it on one line? It is not. It is going to say, whoop, something wrong. And you can see that it has gone ahead and pretty helpfully highlighted where something has gone wrong here, right? It's like there's something wrong on this line. And so again, this is something you all will get more experienced at as you do this more. But what you can see from this is that, so you'll get more experience at recognizing, like, oh, right, I'm missing a comma there, right? And then you go on and you'll validate your JSON, okay? So each of you will produce a similar file. You will not use books, but you're going to have at least two what I call top-level key value pairs. The keys that you use must be different, okay? So you can't have owner, category, and volumes or books, right? You need to have, I don't know, albums, genre, some, I don't know. But these should all be different for you. So that's it. If you have any questions, please post them to Piazza, and keep an eye out for more videos coming later this week that will be a preview of next week's lesson, along with a handful of readings. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you all then.